A video featuring Helen Mirren getting interviewed in 1975 is going viral. And the reason why it's going viral is because it shows that even though there's still some sexism that exists today, we've come a long way in terms of the way people interview women on their shows. Now, this interview was done by Michael Parkinson, and apparently he thought it would be totally okay to talk about her body, referring to her body parts as equipment. And he actually opened the interview by referring to Helen Mirren as sex queen, amorous boa constrictor, especially telling and projecting sluttish eroticism.
That's insane.
Yeah,
like
that's what he said about her.
Like, it's 1975, and I get like a sex queen, and it depends on the context, etc. It's not by definition necessarily sexist, you know. But an amorous boa constrictor and projecting sluttish eroticism?
I can't even imagine. Okay, so that's how she got introduced to the interview.
By the way, she was promoting her upcoming production of Macbeth with the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Sluttish eroticism. Okay, so that's not even the worst part. Okay, here's a snippet from the interview, and try not to cringe as you watch it. Take a look.
But do you find, in fact, that this, what could be best described as your equipment, in fact, hinders you, perhaps, in that pursuit?
I'd like you to explain what you mean by my equipment in
well, people watching,
great detail.
Well, your physical attributes.
You mean my fingers?
No, I meant your...
Come on, spit it out.
I meant your figure.
My figure? Sorry, what was the beginning of the question? I forgot.
The question was, do you find that your figure, your physical attributes, which people always go on about, hinder you in your pursuit of the ambition of being a successful actress?
I'm a serious actress, because serious actresses can't have big bosoms. Is that what you mean?
Well, I think that they might sort of detract from the performance, if you know what I mean.
Really? I can't think that can necessarily be true. I mean, what a crummy performance if people are obsessed with the size of your bosom or anything else. I would hope that the performance and the play and the living relationship between all the people on stage and all the people in the audience overcome such boring questions, really.
At that point, he changed the subject immediately, right? And he started talking about other things. But look, it wasn't just what he was asking her and how he was asking her. It's the fact that he literally looked down and stared at her boobs as he's doing this interview. Like, I can't even imagine what that must have felt like. And yeah.
So, look, is there a way to talk about her figure that's relevant to a conversation? I think the answer is yes. Should you be careful? Yeah, you should be careful how you do it. But in the context that he did it, there was, like, it was not just missing the mark. It seemed to be purposely sexist because he said, does it detract from being a serious actress? No, but then you're saying, hey, okay, you're hot. Acknowledging that is one thing. But because you're hot, we can't take you seriously. Now, but that's kind of the definition of sexism. To say to someone, I'm not taking you seriously for what your real job is because I'm too obsessed staring at your body. And I'll do it in the middle of this interview. I'll stare at your body, right?
Yeah, and it's also, you know, pretty much attacking her for something she can't control. So the size of her breasts. It's not like that's something that she did anything about. Like, that's just her natural size of her breasts, right? And to use that against her is ridiculous. And by the way, she had commented on that interview back in 2011, and I love what she had to say about it even then. She says, outrageous, that's the first talk show I'd ever done. I was terrified. I watched it and actually thought, bloody hell, I did really well. I was so young and inexperienced, and he was such a fucking sexist old fart. He denies it to this day that it was sexist, but of course he was. Yeah, I feel like that's honestly an example of sexual harassment as well. Like when someone just blatantly stares at your breasts and tries to make you feel uncomfortable about it.
So look, I'll divide this into two different categories. The people, like let's say you're interviewing a stripper. Is it okay to talk about her breasts? I think the answer is obviously yes. So because her job is
it's part of her job.
Is part of her job, yeah. Right? That's right. And then, can you talk about people's appearances in jobs that are somewhat about their appearance? For example, us. yeah, I think you can talk about that, but be a little careful, because if that's all you're obsessed about and all you care about, well, then you're misdirected, right? Mm-hmm. And then the last part of it is, if you conflate the two things, okay? So, and you talk about a woman's appearance or a man's, it's theoretically possible, doesn't happen as often, right? And say that's the only reason they got the job. That's the only reason this, that, or otherwise. Like, so, like, for example, I don't even want to give examples, but there's been people in incredibly important positions of power in politics here in this country, in other countries, and if you're sitting there talking about their ass or their bosom or whatever it is, it's not just disrespectful, it's stupid. And yes, that's sexist, because what you're saying is, no matter what you are, even if you're the prime minister, you're the head of our foreign policy, I don't care. I'm only going to judge you based on your physical appearance. And if you don't understand that that's the definition of sexism, then you just don't get it.
Yeah, or you just don't want to get it. And of course, there are plenty of people out there who don't want to get it. But the one thing that I will point to is this story, even though it made me cringe watching that interview, also made me feel a little good about where we are now. Because if that interview took place today, I mean, the backlash that host would face would be pretty, significant. And so we have made a lot of progress, and that's something to celebrate. And so for people out there, especially women who have like this negative knee-jerk reaction to the word feminist or feminism, understand that this is the kind of stuff that feminism fought back against, right? Don't let right-wingers, steal the narrative or change the narrative of what feminists try to do or want to do. Okay, they're not out there to take the rights away from men. Unless you consider, being creepy during an interview a right that men should have.
But to be fair to that guy, and Anna, all people cared about was Helen Mirren's looks, and so, I mean, did she ever wind up becoming a serious actress?
I don't know. Maybe not. It's just so stupid. By the way, can we have a discussion about how that guy looks? Really? Anyway.
I mean, if you're gonna throw stones,
yeah,
you might want to look out for the glass house.
Are you a serious talk show host?
Well, it appears he wasn't, though, to be fair.
Yeah. TYT has been on the air for a really long time. So if you're interested in watching old school clips and our reactions to it, become a member and watch TYT Classics. TYTnetwork.com/join.